Hello and welcome, people, to the Fabricio with Their podcast. We are about to kick off with This Week in MMA, and let's have a nice chat about what's going on. Just another news, notes, and quotes. I'm in the middle of building, trying to landscape my yard that I have my bees in, for those of you that know, and I want to make a house, like a little house thing for owls. I want to have owls in my yard. So if any of you have any information as to owls and whatnot and what I can do to have owls in my yard, that's owls are a nocturnal predatory creature, let me know. Now, Nathan Gorman says, last week you said you were in Brooklyn when Conor attacked Khabib's bus. Can you tell us more? Like, what was Khabib's reaction, and was that altercation surreal for you? It wasn't really surreal. It was kind of silly, to be honest with you. Khabib didn't have like a huge reaction from what you could see. Like, there would have been more effective ways, logistically to have arranged for that. I think, like how Khabib said, just send location. It was more like, it was, I think, what it was. Like, I think if they actually wanted to get to Khabib, they could have just got to him a different way, not in the way that they did. So it was not really, it was just silly, I think. It was not the most, it was kind of a silly thing, like, to do, I think, my opinion. I don't think it was a fantastic thing to do. And yeah, I think it was the same thing what I just said. Like, I don't think everyone, like, I think it was sadder in as far as, like, for the people that got hurt, people got hurt as a result of that, and their fights got affected. And I feel sorry for those people, to be honest with you. Kenza Tenma says, how would Khabib have done versus great lightweights in their prime, like Tony Ferguson, Benson Henderson, Anthony Pettis, Eddie Alvarez? He was in that era, but never fought them. I think he beats Tony Ferguson, and I think he beats Tony Ferguson pretty badly, any version of him, simply because I think that I've seen Tony Ferguson get held down by guys that weren't necessarily as good as Khabib, in my opinion. Benson Henderson, I think, would have been a tough fight for him. Just stylistically, I think Benson would have been a tough fight. Just a good wrestler with good grappling, and just, he's a big guy as well. He's a really big, strong guy. He's another guy, like, I've seen him in real life, and he's like a really thick set, like real big legs, like real big dude for that weight division, for that lightweight division at that time. I think Anthony Pettis, I dare say Khabib would probably get Anthony Pettis, because whilst Anthony Pettis an underrated ground game, I don't think it's at the level that would have really been able to deal with Khabib. Again, as styles make matchups, I think Eddie Alvarez would have been an interesting matchup because of the wrestling. Another guy that I think would have been an interesting matchup would have been Kevin Lee. I think that would have been an interesting matchup as well. It's just the way that they match up. I think, I'm not saying necessarily that they beat him. I'm just saying that that'd be interesting matchups. Harrod says, Charles Oliveira was known as a quitter, but then went on an 11-fight win streak. What do you think changed in him, considering he was the same human being in both time frames in his UFC career? I think calling someone a quitter is fucking weird. You know what I mean? Like, you're not in that position to say anything about someone. Like, I don't know why people necessarily called him a quitter. Like, in fairness to Charles, he was a guy that fought a lot. He came in young. He grew up in the octagon. I've seen him take big shots, man. Like in the Michael Chandler fight, he could have quit at any time there. You know what I mean? And that would have been fine. Against Poirier, he took some big shots as well. Against Gaethje, he took some huge shots. So I don't think that that's really fair. You know what I mean? You don't know what happens in a fight. You can just get clipped. This is the thing people don't understand. You can get clipped, and then the fight continues a little bit later, and you still haven't recovered. Whether it's a body shot or you took a shot to the head, and you just haven't been able to clear. And that affects the fight. You might get hit a little bit later, and it doesn't look that bad, but it was a shot you took 30 seconds ago or a minute ago that really buzzed you, you know, that really affected you. So to call him a quitter, I think is pretty stupid. Like, if you look as well at the guys that he lost to and at the time that he lost to them, like Jim Miller at the time was on a run, you know what I mean? Donald Cerrone at the time was very, very good and, like, you know, big name, and he was coming up, you know. And then he had some wins. He beat Jonathan Brookins, who had just won the Ultimate Fighter House, and then he fought Charles, and Charles beat him. Or if Jonathan Brookins didn't win it, he came close to winning it. But he was highly touted prospect, Jonathan Brookins. Then he lost to Cub Swanson, and again at that time, Cub Swanson was really good. Like, he was doing really, really well. And Charles Oliveira missed weight at that time. And if you know Charles is a really big guy. I think making featherweight would have also been really difficult for him. And it would have affected him, like, cardio-wise, strength-wise, psychologically, everything. I think that's a big one that would have affected him. Is just fighting at featherweight. He missed weight for the Cub Swanson fight. He came in at 146.2. Then he lost to Frankie Edgar in a decision. And Frankie Edgar is an absolute legend. Then he fought Jeremy Stevens, beat Jeremy Stevens, but missed weight again. And then he fought Nick Lentz. And then he lost to Max Holloway, but he had an esophagus injury in that sit. And I remember that fight clearly. So then he fought Miles Jury, in which he missed weight again, and this time missed it by a lot. Then he fought Ricardo Lamas, a submission guillotine, and he missed weight for that one as well. And then he went back to lightweight against Will Brooks, beat Will Brooks, lost to Paul Felder, and then from there on in, he's just won everything bar the Islam Makhachev fight. So I think it's a little bit is like a narrative that's created by people. If you look at it retrospectively, there's not much shame in his career, man. And then fighting at a weight you shouldn't be fighting at affects you massively. Pepcard says, Khabib once said before his fight against Barboza that in order to understand kicking defense, you must understand kicking offense. Is this true? What do you make of that statement? Well, that's what I say to you is always, like, you got to kick with a kicker because it makes you understand what you need to do. Like, so say if I like to kick and you're kicking me, that means I've got to address that. I've got to either check the kick, I've got to move my legs, I've got to do something with my legs where I'm not kicking you. And if you're pressuring me and moving back or making me move back, it makes it hard for me to get my kicks off. So if I understand that, then I can then put that in practice on you. And I think that's what he was probably referring to. John Wayne says, thoughts on Usman Nurmagomedov testing positive for banned substance? He said his doctor prescribed it for him after he fell ill, and Ali Abdulaziz said it wasn't performance enhancing. I think that's an easy one in that it's on the banned list. You took it, you popped, in the story. Like, the rest of it, it doesn't, like, your opinion on what it does, your thing. If you take something that's on a banned list and you get caught, you got caught. You got to own that. I'm not here to give moral judgment. I'm not here to pass any moral judgment. Tell you, do I think that this, if it's on the banned list, there's rules, man. There's rules for a reason. Even though I have my own views on the testing protocols and how they test and how they don't test, and I'd say it's flimsy at best. I'd also say to you, it doesn't matter. The end of the day is I take something that I know is on a banned list. I took something that's on a banned list. Whether it helps me or not or whatever, it's beside the point. You sign something to say, I'm not going to take these things. Okay, Light Yagami says, are Olympic wrestlers who transition to MMA overrated in their grappling? For example, Cejudo got wrestled out by Sterling and DC got out wrestled by Jones, and you all had a tough time with Rob. I think number one is you got to understand that most of these wrestlers that are coming through outside of their prime in wrestling. Like, they didn't, like, if Yoel Romero had transitioned in 2004 to MMA, like, and got the proper training in and blah, 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 or in 2000, won the silver medal in the Olympics. In 2000, I believe he was a silver medalist. If he had transitioned in 2001 to MMA, I don't think that would have been the case, and I think he would have held that belt for a very long time. Probably wouldn't even cross paths. It probably just would have been a different situation. I know that DC was way past his prime when he came over, and the fact that who they're losing to are some of the best guys to ever do it. Like the guys that you just mentioned that those wrestlers lost to are some of the best guys to ever do it. And so, no, I don't think it's overrated in the grappling. I just think that, you're matching up against, it's MMA, first of all, so it's not all just fighting. The other guys, you might be a better wrestler than them, but they'll have other aspects that they might really overshadow you in. And then further to that is where they are at, like where you're at in your life and your career. And the ability to apply your grappling in MMA is different to how good you are of a grappler. You can look at a lot of jiu-jitsu guys, judo guys that have transitioned over to MMA and not done well. And then you look at a lot of other guys that have transitioned, or girls that have transitioned and have done amazingly well. That's my opinion on that anyways. Jordan Martinez says, is Aspinall versus Gane a dream fight in terms of heavyweight 2.0? New generation type of fighters who move like lightweights but are heavyweights. I mean, I don't know, man, because I think you got to compare people in their eras. The way Fedor moved back in the day, like he moved so well, so fast, so light on his feet. He was, I think, a pioneer of heavyweight that could really move like that. Because you had very athletic heavyweights like Krokop, but they didn't move the way that he moved. Then you had Cain Velasquez, and he could move as well. He could really move. He could really mix it up. Powerful, strong. I don't know. I think that they really are of that kind of ilk. Like they're in particular Aspinall. Aspinall has a fast hands and the good footwork, kind of like Fedor. They're different fighters. They're very different. Before people go, no, they're not. But I'm saying just in terms of not the execution of their strikes, they're very different in the way they struck. And they're very different in the way that they move, but in the fact that they're both so light on their feet for heavyweights. And Aspinall's even bigger than Fedor. But still, like the way they're both very light on their feet and how fast their hands are, this is a very big problem at heavyweight for anyone that has to match up against people like that. Max Jamil says, I feel like Strickland would be an easier matchup for Leon Edwards rather than DDP, who hits way harder. I can see Edwards going 5 rounds versus Strickland, but get finished versus DDP. Thoughts? I don't know because I haven't seen Edwards at middleweight. He was a middleweight a very long time ago. I think only for one fight, but he's a big guy for light heavyweight. For welterweight, he's a big guy, and so I don't. He's 32 years old. I don't know how much that weight cut is getting to him. He's a big guy. He's very tidy with his striking. He's very, very, very tidy, and he hits at different. He doesn't just headhunt. He hits different parts of the body. He's a very good grappler. I don't know how he'd match up necessarily versus those guys because I haven't seen him at middleweight versus anyone else. I think that Strickland. The thing you got to understand. This is something people don't get. Strickland gets shit. Oh, he doesn't hit hard enough. Strickland hits hard enough, dude. He hits hard enough. He might not have that crazy one-shot knock-you-out power, but he hit Israel, who's one of the most durable people that I've ever seen fight. I've not seen someone like Israel fight. That's one of the biggest things that I look at with Israel is his durability. Like he's had over 100 combat fights. He's fought up at light heavyweight. He's fought in kickboxing. And he's been finished twice by the same guy. And that guy is one of the most devastating strikers the world has ever seen. He hits, and he's the only guy that's finished Israel like that. Now, all that I said, Sean not only dropped Israel, spun him around when he hit him. He hit him flush and spun him around. So, precision is more important, and Sean is very precise. So he hits hard enough. He's still a big guy that hits you hard enough. It's just the way that he's striking. I think, Sean hits hard enough to hurt you like that. That's leave that no doubt, and he hits you a lot of times. DDP, I just find Leon. I'm not saying DDP won't beat him, but I find Leon a fair bit tidier than DDP with his striking. And over 5 rounds, I don't know how DDP will look, if he's fighting the way he fights over 5 rounds against an experienced, methodical, calm person like Edwards. Because Edwards is very efficient. He doesn't waste a lot of energy. He's not exploding and matching you with explosiveness either. He's very methodical. He's a surgeon with his strikes. So he's an interesting matchup, I think, for either one of those guys. Well, for anyone in that middleweight division, Leon Edwards would be a really interesting guy at middleweight. When Conor heard of Madara says, when Conor heard of Usman Nurmagomedov's positive test, he went on a rant about Khabib's religion and said Abdulmanap's rolling in his graves. Thoughts on this and how Conor can't let Khabib go? I can't speculate as to what Conor says or what he thinks. I don't know. I don't know. I can't say anything about it. I find you speaking about people's family, especially people's families who are deceased, I find that a bit much. I don't really think that it speaks of your character a lot, in my opinion. I don't. There's things that I just can't look at and go, you know what, that's cool. You're still doing it to sell fights or whatever. There's a million things you can say. A million things you can make fun of people about. But I think when you're bringing up in any shape, way, or form someone's deceased parents or kids or their religion or their wives or something like that, I think no matter the context, I just don't think it's appropriate. You know what I mean? I just don't think it's right. But that's me. That's my thoughts. Light Yagami says thoughts on Paddy saying Tony's fight is a lose-lose situation for him. If that's the case, why did he take the fight? Is this perfect to build Paddy's confidence after his last performance? Well, I think they're definitely trying to build Paddy Pimblett up. Obviously, UFC sees something in him, and this is going to be an interesting fight for him, a good fight for him. But I see Paddy should beat Tony and beat him comfortably. Mario Gomez says, the fact that Leon wants to move up to 185, does that mean he's not interested in the Islam fight, considering he has nothing to gain by beating Makhachev, who's from a weight class below? Well, I think if you beat Makhachev in a super fight, it's still Islam Makhachev. You can't deny that. But I think that Leon would be running his own race. And I think he's accomplished everything everything he wants to accomplish at welterweight, which is take the belt and maybe defend it once or twice. But then after that, it's always going to be who's next, when he could have a shot at the next division up, and not have to put his belt up on the line for that. Even if you have to relinquish your belt at welterweight to go up to fight at middleweight, you've still done that. You have never lost your belt. You're still going to go up there. People are going to look at you as the reigning champion, and you don't have to make the weight cut that's getting harder and harder as you get older. So I think that makes sense for him. I think it makes sense. I think and generally the guys from the weight division below just move at a faster frame rate. And the heavier you go, the worse the fighters are. I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm just saying you don't have the depth of fighting at 120, 130 kilogram men. You just don't have it. There's just not that many people walking around comparatively to the rest of the world, which is in the lighter weight divisions. And that's just the facts, So that's why when you have flyweights are better than bantam, blah, 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 blah. And as you get older, you generally move up a division. And then you see also the guys at middleweight that have done well generally have done so from welterweight. Strickland, Rob Whittaker, DDP, all former welterweights. Okay. Nathan Gorman says, John Kavanagh said on Hawani's show that the UFC don't want Conor to fight in April, but rather July. Do you think this is a negotiation tactic by UFC to pay McGregor less if he wants to fight on the UFC 300? No idea, man. I cannot speculate as to that. I don't think so, because I don't think that would be the issue necessarily. As in, like, they're paying more or less because he's going to blow the roof off anyways. And everyone's going to watch McGregor fight. Anyone who, even if you don't like him, you don't like him, you want him to lose, you want him to win, doesn't matter. Everyone's going to watch it. Everyone's going to watch it, whether he fights in July. McGregor could fight in a phone booth on a fight night for not the UFC, and people are going to watch him. At this stage in his career, people are going to watch him. Death Note says, Conor goes off on Khabib on Twitter from time to time. Do you think Khabib dropping him on the feet and mauling him on the ground potentially broke Conor? I personally think he's never mentally recovered. Yeah, again, I don't know, Death Note. I can't speculate as to how Conor's feeling. I have no idea. I dare say that a lot of it would be because that's like, how do I say, low-hanging fruit. Like, you can, that's got history. There's a thing there for you to talk about, and people are going to watch, and he keeps his name in the headline. So it's smart on his part to do that. John Wayne says, thoughts on Paddy saying Ian Gary got KO'd by Leon in training last year. Is it a low move for Paddy to share sparring secrets like that one? I don't know what the nature of their gym is or their relationships. I don't know. Like, there's people that do training and grappling and whatnot. They put it all up online. By all accounts, I think Leon went on some show and said that he didn't knock him out. So, yeah, and also I'll tell you something, sparring and training are not the same thing. So, I mean, sparring and fighting are not the same thing. So it wouldn't matter even if you did. It's not the same. It's not the same thing. Jordan Martinez says, I just did some research on Islam, and he got suspended for banned substance called meldonium several years ago. What are your thoughts on this, and what is meldonium? Let's look it up. And where did you see you got suspended? Let's see where. I'll see. I'm looking it up right now. Where did he get suspended from what? Because I can't see anywhere here that he got suspended for meldonium. Okay, Mahashev was expected to face Drew Dober. After the weigh-ins, the UFC announced that the bout was cancelled after Mahashev failed an out-of-competition drug screening, testing positive for the banned anti-ischemic meldonium. And I'll tell you right now, meldonium is a limited market pharmaceutical developed in the 1970s, blah, blah, blah. Meldonium can be used as a metabolic modulator, changing how some hormones accelerate or slow down enzymatic reactions in the body. However, there are debates over its use as an athletic performance enhancer. Some athletes are known to have used meldonium before it was banned, most notably Maria Sharapova. Nevertheless, many athletes have been suspended or disqualified officially in relation to this drug. Meldonium is used to treat coronary artery disease. These heart problems may sometimes lead to ischemia, a condition where too little blood flows to the organs in the body, especially the heart. Because this drug is thought to expand the arteries, it helps to increase the blood flow as well as increase the flow of oxygen throughout the body. So that's what meldonium does. And that's my thoughts on it. Then, and should be suspended if you get caught taking it. I think that the drug use is rife in the UFC and in MMA in general. So I usually, man, when you see people, I'm not talking about Islam or anyone, but usually when you see people and they're doing stuff and it's unbelievable, it usually is. It usually is unbelievable. Light Yagami says, thoughts on champs wanting to go do double champ status without clearing the division, like Edwards and Mahashev, who want to go up but barely have wins over the current top 5 in their divisions. I mean, honestly, man, how I feel about that, if you can, good for you. It's no small feat to go up, and it's already been done. Like, Conor did that without defending, so if Conor can do it, I don't see why they can't do it. I don't mind if they do that. Me personally, you're asking me personally. Madara says, Khabib recently said in an interview he turned down an offer worth roughly $20 to $30 million to fight. Are you surprised he turned down huge money, or are things cheap in Dagestan, therefore he doesn't need to? Well, I think in terms of money, Khabib doesn't need money per se like that. And to fight, it's not easy money. You know what I mean? It's not a small amount of money, especially if you've checked out the fighting, especially if you've gone, I don't want to fight anymore for whatever the reasons that he may have, or think, and I can't speculate as to that. And he's already turned his attention, his focus onto other ways of making money. But fighting is not an easy way of making money, that I can assure you. Mario says, Alger revealed on his podcast he was offered by the UFC to fight Calvin Kattar. Are you surprised they didn't offer him a higher ranking featherweight, or since he's not champ anymore, he can't demand? I mean, you can demand, but what they give you back is different. I don't know. Who are you going to, if he goes up, who's he going to fight? Is he going to fight Volkanovski? No. You know what I mean? He just lost at bantamweight. Is he going to fight Max Holloway or Ilia Topuria? No. And then Ilia Topuria, Max would have to agree to fight him. Maybe Max would fight him. But they'd have to agree to fight him where they're like stone's throw away from fighting Alex. Doesn't make sense. So Calvin Kattar seems about right. Good fight too, I think that would be. Kenzo says, where do you think Poirier is in his career currently? He doesn't want to fight new fighters and seems to be in no man's land. Should he swallow his pride and fight the new guys, or does he have a point? Well, you have to look at things. I say this all the time. You have to look at things like there's different things. Like there's my opinion as a fan. What do I want to see? There's my opinion as if I was his coach. There's my opinion if I was his fighter. There's my opinion if I was a promoter. They're all completely different. They're all at odds with each other. If I'm a fan, I want to see Poirier fight down the card. I want to see him fight Gamrot. I want to see him fight, guys that are coming up. Saint Denis. I want to see him fight these guys, right? Just to give new blood. I want to see him fight Sarukian. I want to see him fight these different dudes. If I'm him or his managers or his coaches, I'm like, nah, I want big names that are going to get me closer to a title, or just going to get me more money, or whatever his situation is. That's what I want. I'm 34 years old. That's what he is, 34, 35. I don't have many more fights in me. I don't want to lose to Gamrot, no offense to Gamrot, and then be out of that, stone's throw from getting a title shot, or from getting big money fights. No, I don't want that. I want to have big name fights, and I want the few that's left in my career to be that. So that's the thing you got to understand always when you're looking at stuff. Like, you're looking at it, what lens are you using? Are you using your lens? Are you using, or if it's a promotion, if I'm the promoter, I have to look at it and go, well, this is how much views he brings in. What do we do? How are we going to maximize the amount of views and / money that he brings in, and what we have to pay him? Do we waste that on a new up and comer? So these are the things you have to balance. Death Note says, will Hamzat's lack of fighting activity cost him from being a superstar? He has the potential of being a new Khabib for the Middle East region, but doesn't fight enough to take advantage of his fame. I don't know what the deal is with him and his visa and all that. I know that he had a lot of issues with his visa, in particular at this current volatile time with Russia, particularly Chechnya. I don't know what the whole deal was with that. So there is that. And I mean, he just beat the former welterweight champion. That was in a big fight. I would imagine that, the next couple of fights are going to be big fights for him regardless. So let's see who he gets next. It's going to be interesting, and when he fights him. He also had to grow into that middleweight build. You know what I mean? He couldn't just go like that. That takes time if you want to go up into the next division properly, So that was smart on his part as well. Jordan Martinez says, how was Leon able to out-grapple Gunnar Nelson, RDA, and even take down Usman in the rematch? Considering he was a striker, he seems to be a fighter that learns grappling quickly. Well, Leon's been grappling for a very, very, very long time, dude, and he's had a lot of opportunity to get better. And I know he works really hard. He's got a great team. Team Renegade's a fantastic team, have been a fantastic team for a long time. So just because people see him like reasonably quick, it doesn't mean that it just happened reasonably quickly. I mean, he debuted on 5th of June 2011, as a pro, and that's a long time. So he's been in the fight game for 12, 13 years. That's a long time for you to develop your skills. So he's done fantastic. He was the BAMA champion at welterweight. He defended the belt. And then some of the fights that he's lost, like the Claudio Silva fight, he lost a split decision to. Then he lost to Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman got out-wrestled. Even these fights, even more so, start to go, this is what I have to do. One of the things that happens, this is very, very true. Nothing against AKA. I think it's a fantastic team. But I know that he was flying out to AKA and doing camps there because people go, oh, I've got to do wrestling overseas, da, da, da. Then you work out, and this happens all the time, and I see this all the time. Then you work out, no, I don't have to fly anywhere. I can train wrestling here. There's enough people here that can wrestle, whether it's in the UK or whatever. There's guys that can wrestle, and I have to go to training. I am the one that has to wrestle. And once you understand that, dude, like your level just flies through the roof. It's a lot of the times it becomes difficult when you think the answer is somewhere else. The answer is not somewhere else. The answer is you. Once you've exhausted everything you could possibly do, then maybe you can start looking at, do I go somewhere else to train, or do I do this, or do I do that? But once you go, man, I'm training wrestling twice a day and I'm not getting better here, then all right, then we're talking about it. But if you're not wrestling that much, it doesn't matter. So I think I heard an interview actually where he spoke about that, where he's like, actually, he realized he didn't have to travel overseas or anywhere like that anymore to train, and then he just focused on training at home. Madara says, and he's also got a really good build for it as well. He's like long and strong with like long, thick kind of limbs that, he's got a good build for grappling. He's got a good build for combat. Madara says, thoughts on Strickland and Shevchenko going back and forth on Twitter. And he told us, stay in the kitchen, laugh out loud. She challenged him to a gun range shooting challenge. He might have to take the L on this one. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea about that. I'm sure it's mutually beneficial for both of them. Nathan Gorman says, Francis just officially got inducted to the top 10 ranking of the WBC. Thoughts on this? Well, he did a good fight against Tyson Fury. I'd have to say it'd be hard to argue that he couldn't sit somewhere in that top 10, top 15. Kenzo Tenma says, Cheeto has a habit of having a slow pace to his striking. Will this cost him versus O'Malley? I think O'Malley, the fight versus him and Cheeto is going to be relatively boring, with O'Malley staying outside of the range and sniping him. That's what I think is going to happen. He's got a good chin on him, Cheeto, and I think that O'Malley's just going to connect with him, try and take him down whenever he can, and it'll go like that. Kind of like the Sandhagen fight, with not as much wrestling, but O'Malley can wrestle, man. Light Yagami says, Mark Madsen pushed Jared Gordon to the cage but was unable to take down Gordon. How was this possible? Well, Mark Madsen, if I'm not mistaken, let me look him up. He's 39 years old, dude, or something like this. Like, he's not like a young guy. If I'm not mistaken, Mark Madsen. Yeah, he's 39 years old. Like, and he's a Greco-Roman guy. There's a lot of like factors that have to happen for you to take down a guy that's, a young, strong guy that's fighting and blah, 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 blah. There's a lot of things. So it doesn't massively surprise me. No, it'd be different if you told me, I don't know, he was 22, been fighting, da, 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 da. So Mark Madsen, 39, the rest of it. Mario Gomez says, it's been a year since Rumble Johnson passed away. Just give us your thoughts on him as a fighter and the legacy he left behind. I just remember that guy hitting people and almost killing them. That's how I remember him. Like, just that, like a really, really scary, like, kind of strength and a really scary power to his shots. I don't know how he got down to welterweight. I will never know how he got down to welterweight. But and he looked like a completely different person. But one of the things that was shocking with him was just the power that he had in his hands, like really, really insane power. Pep Guard says, Arman Sarukian said in an interview this week that the key to beating Islam is to push him back, don't let him come forward, pushing you to the cage and fight him in the middle thoughts. Yes, in theory, but it's a very hard thing to do. Islam is very, very well-rounded. That's the other big problem, and he's becoming more and more comfortable with that range, and he's becoming more and more comfortable with his ability to use his striking in a smart way. So it's tough. It's a really, really tough ask for you to do that, especially when you have a guy that can kick so well, which is relatively rare. He can kick so well and he can back himself that no matter what you do, you can grab his leg, you do whatever, but he's going to be all right. So because of his grappling, so it's a tough one. You can say that, yes, I think I agree with him, but it's hard. How do you get him to do that? Madara says, thoughts on Sanhagen saying he's not willing to fight Umar now because he's moved past him. Fine. I don't know what to say. Like, you can fine. John Wayne says, are the best types of kicks when you barely move your hips and have a whipping motion like Gaethje and Pereira's leg kicks, or is Barboza's type of kicks better with a pullback trigger motion? It just depends how you set it up and what the rest of your game's like. Barboza is different to them in just the way that he moves. A very kind of explosive dude in the way that he moves, a very athletic guy. And, he uses a lot of different kind of motions, with how he fights. And he's more of I think they're different. They're just very different. It just depends how the rest of your game is. He will do, Jose Aldo was more like him as well, how they threw their punches and kicks. And they used a lot of like the Dutch kind of combinations that they use where they go 1-2 hook, low kick, 1-2 rip to the body, low kick. And so that allows you, because you have a way you're setting that up, that allows you to chop the leg like that. If you chop the leg like that naked, like you just threw that like a lunatic and somebody checked it, you'll break your leg. The way Alex and Gaethje throw their leg kicks, they throw it. Gaethje throws it with a little less regard and it's not quite like Alex throws it. It's kind of in the middle between the two, and he throws it with very little regard for his own safety and whatnot. And he does it off the back of it's not as good of a setup, I don't think, as either one of them. It's just he throws them a lot. Whereas Alex throws them kind of naked a lot of the times, but there's no toe. And he's not trying to smash your legs down with one kick like a Barboza is, and Gaethje as well. Gaethje kicks you like that as well. Like they're trying to break your leg in that one shot. Aldo was like that as well. Pereira's trying to chop you down slowly over the period of the fight. He knows he's going to land in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble. Cooper Marion says, who's the best Brazilian leg kicker, Pereira, Aldo, or Barboza? I just answered that. I just think like it just depends what you're looking for, what you're after. I think like the way that he chopped the legs, the way that Aldo and Barboza chopped the legs is different. They're after different things, So it's not who's better. It's just they're after different things. The outcome that they're looking for is different. Cooper Marion says, what do Brazilians have against legs? Cooper Marion says, John Wayne, the best leg kicks are whichever ones you can land consistently and hopefully targeted at the same spot. It is true. Cooper Marion says, at John and Alex having such little toe on his kicks makes it way easier for him to throw a lot and start racking the damage up, but there's plenty of ways to skin a cat. No, absolutely right. You're 100% right. Kenny says his mic sounds different. Kenny says, Coach, what are your thoughts on gym nomads? I hear you get called a trader for jumping gyms. Yet at the same time, they say you limit yourself by staying at one gym, like Charles Oliveira. Again, like, I don't know that that's what happened to Charles. You know what I mean? I don't know that, like, you can't speculate as to what happens. Like, there's so many things in each relationship, dude, and there's so many third and fourth, fifth parties involved that you don't know. Now, it depends how you define a gym nomad, and it depends on you. I think your values and your thing. If you can be true to your own values and you make value-driven decisions, and you're going to be fine. But you also can't expect, like, if you go from gym to gym to gym to gym to gym, you also can't expect to ever be in the fold. You can't ever expect to have people that care about you at any place either, because you're just there to use them. They're going to treat you like that too. So there's nothing wrong with that, but you're not going to be part of any team. And maybe you say, fuck it, I don't care, I don't want a team. And that's cool, but you need to understand that. And then there's also this fact that, like, it's very hard, in my opinion, it depends where you're at in your career, but it's very hard, in my opinion, for you to gain sequential learning when you're not. It'll be like you're jumping from school to school to school when you're in high school or something. Like, you're learning algebra 1 week, and instead of doing the next part of algebra, now you're doing trigonometry, and then you switch schools again, which happens with kids that switch schools. This is one of the big problems. Then you go, and the next one you're doing fucking, I don't know, equations, So then you go again, and you're doing Pythagoras theorem. It's all completely different, right? And you're taking bits and pieces, but you're not learning sequential learning. And so it's hard for you to understand that. And I think the big problem is not you going from gym to gym to gym. It's you doing the actual work. So say, for example, for argument's sake, my guys, generally, we have one team, this is our team. It's not open. You can't just come in and blah, blah, blah. They will go to another gym and box, for example, or kickbox, or, they might have a couple of guys that they do jiu-jitsu with as well outside of it. But our core group is our core group, and you're not welcome just to walk in and do whatever you want whenever you want. It's just not the way that it works. For me, for us, my kind of guys. And my guys agree with that. If you don't agree with that, then we don't gel. It's not a thing. Like, my wife and I aren't into fucking partner swapping. I know people that do. You know what I mean? I'm not saying it's just not what I'm into. It's fucking not, you know what I mean? I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's not what I'm into. And you can't ask, you can't ask for, loyalty, or you can't ask for friendship, or you can't ask for anything if you're not given it, And so if you're a guy that goes, hey man, can I come down and train? Somebody says to us, and the other thing is, I don't know if you fit into our team or not. You say, can I come down and train for a week? Like, maybe if I know you and the rest of it, yeah, that's fine. If we know you, or we know of you, a friend of a friend or something, you come down and train for a week and then you leave. There's nothing wrong with that, I think. But that's not the same as a gym nomad. And also, there's things like, I see this all the time, and I think, like, if you're a jiu-jitsu guy, for example, you're a white belt, right? It doesn't matter what gym you're at, you're gonna learn more from sequential learning and staying at the one gym than you would jumping gyms. And if you're a purple belt and you compete or whatever, you don't have to make the song and dance about it. Like, you will have friends that train in different gyms, and you guys can get together and train, and you don't have to make a song and dance about it. You don't have to, like, you can just train. It's not a big deal. You still have your team and everything. Like, it's not. It just depends on what you want to do and what you want to get back out of it. That's my thoughts on it. Ali Shukri says, according to Islam, he had heart issues and was absolved after showing that he stopped taking it before they made it banned in his prescription for it. Yeah, look, if that's the case, then so be it. Like, I don't know. I just said what it was. You know what I mean? Like, I just said what it was. I just read exactly what the thing was. John Wayne says, will more people take PEDs now without USADA? It's an interesting question. I don't know if more people will take it. I don't think it was that hard to beat the tests before that. And in a way, when you have a governing body, right, sometimes it makes it easier because people assume you're not, whereas when there is no governing body like that, everyone assumes that you are. Like, so sometimes you can say, well, no, fuck, we do have the governing body, dude. We got tested. I'm obviously not on it. That doesn't mean that you're not on it. So that's my take on that. Cooper Marin says, Gaethje throws leg kicks like knuckle sandwiches are his favorite meal. Yes. Nathan Gorman says, how would a Khabib have done versus a prime Cerrone back in 2015 and 2016 when they were scheduled to fight? I think Khabib would have smashed Cerrone like badly, really, really badly. Really, really, really badly. John Wayne, because Cerrone had never had great wrestling, and Khabib has fantastic wrestling. And Cerrone doesn't have the best boxing, just boxing itself. And Khabib comes forward with pressure, making it hard to kick against someone that's not a great wrestler. He would have smashed him, in my opinion. I like Cerrone, you know, just Khabib is like, if you could make the bad matchup in the lab, that's the one. John Wayne says, what were your thoughts on John Jones' picogram saga and now you started clearing his name by saying that what he got suspended for, he would not have been according to today's testing? Yeah, that's what I said earlier. That's what I mean. That's just why it's ridiculous. Like you can't, like if you have picograms of something or whatever, you obviously have that thing in your system to some degree. You know what I mean? Enough for the athletic commission to ban it, and then they move the fight to another state or whatever. So, like, yeah, it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I'm saying to you with what I said before. Will lower weight class fighters always have better fighting ability than higher weight class fighters? I just think the frame rate is higher, gravity affects them less, and there's more of them with the lighter weights. Cooper Marion says, everyone is already on steroids, but I feel like people will try and push the limit more and more. TRT and Uber's blowing up. Yeah, like, yes, you know. I think the people, honestly, for the most part, the people that would be on it are on it. That's my opinion. I think ones that aren't on it now are just not on it because of either they have health concerns or morally they don't want to, whatever the fucking reason is that they don't want to be on it. But I do think that the ones that want to be on it will be on it, and the ones that don't want to be on it wouldn't be. Cooper Marin says, on the gym nomads, seems like BJJ guys do a good job of having a home gym and doing the occasional trip or camp at somewhere different. Joseph Chen comes to mind with that approach. Yeah, I don't know. Like, it's up to you, dude. Like, there's ways to do things, dude. You know what I mean? There's ways to do things as well. Like, you don't have to be a fucking knob about things. Like, I've never understood certain ways of the way people act. You know what I mean? You don't have to be like that. You know, you don't have to be, like, you don't have to be a knob about things. You know what I mean? And you have to understand that people are allowed to have their boundaries too. Like, it's not, you can't just run around going, oh, I saw a thing on YouTube or something not long ago where a guy was talking about the traits that make a toxic gym. And it was weird because, like, there are obvious ones, in my opinion, that, you know, cross-section of the population would say 9 out of 10 people say, yeah, that is. But a lot of the stuff that he was saying, I was like, that's what you don't agree with. And that's what would make, for other people, you know what I mean, a toxic gym is your thoughts on what a toxic gym isn't. What other people might look at it and go, that's fucking foul. I don't want to be at a gym like that. I think you've got to understand people are allowed to have their boundaries, their rules. It's their gym, you know. And so you might be like, hey, man, I'm a grappling nomad. I just want to train and I just want to do this and I'm just going to come here and do that. And there's people that are like, no, dude, this is how I feed my family. No, you can't just waltz in and do whatever the fuck you want in the gym. No. I have a business structure. I have a business model, and this is how I work my business, and this is my clientele, and my clientele expect me to do this for you, and da 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 da. I went to a gym once, right? And there might be heaps of gyms like this. I don't know. I went to a gym once. I was visiting there because I was a bit younger than that, and I'm always a gentleman when I go there. If I get to a gym, it doesn't matter if it's mandatory or not. I'll buy the uniform. Like, I buy their rashi, I wear their rashi, I wear their things. I'm super polite. I fucking listen to what their instructors say. I do exactly what is asked of me. I don't care if they super cool, laid back, whatever, which I don't really particularly like. I feel when it's like that, it's a bit of Lord of the Flies. I like everything being really clear and the instructor being the one that's in charge. I feel more comfortable like this. But this is me. But anyways, I always buy their rash or their t-shirt if I'm doing no gi. Whatever they have, I buy it. I pay my fees. If I want to go and use a bathroom, I ask the instructor, may I use a bathroom? That's how I am, right? But yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand how you could, like, I went to a gym once, I did all that, and I got on the mats, I trained, like we did the technique that we were doing, and then they said we don't roll here. And I was like, fuck, what the fuck? I just came here to roll, really. And the guy goes, no, we don't roll at our gym, just because of thing. And I looked around the gym, and then I thought, oh, fuck, it makes sense, because all these guys that he had there were like older kind of guys, or like kind of like dudes that were like not. They're just kind of guys. If you look at them, actually, like you're like, yeah, it makes sense. These guys don't want to fucking roll. And then I was there with a friend of mine, and my friend's a bit different to me, And he said, "Oh no, I want to roll." And he rolled anyways. He rolled, and the instructor let him roll with one of the purple belts, whatever. My point is, if you go to that gym, right, and the guy says what he says, it's fucking his gym. I don't have any say in it. I can't criticize the guy. He had a successful gym. He had like lots of members, and I don't agree with it, right? But I understand what he's doing, and I understand that it's his gym and that he can do whatever he wants, and I'm free to not go back. But I can't really criticize him. I get what he's doing. That's his business model. His life is not centered around giving Fab a place to roll. That's not what his life is about. His life is about doing what he thinks is best for him, his family, and his clientele. And it makes sense to me. I get it. I don't agree with it, but that it is what it is. I get it. Let me see. John Wayne says, Islam out-grappled Leon back in 2015 when Edwards came to AKA to prepare for Usman. Do you think Islam is overly confident in beating Leon in a real fight because he beat him in sparring? I don't know, because I haven't seen that footage. You know what I mean? Was it just when they were rolling that he beat him? Did he beat him in sparring? Were there strikes involved? Did they start standing with Leon throwing strikes at full fucking pelt? I don't know. Was Leon throwing elbows and cutting Islam? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't think it matters that much. Cooper Marin says, how are you going to have a gym when they're rolling, like a Gold's gym with no weights, or a Muay Thai gym with no bags? I agree with you, Cooper. I agree with you. Don't get me wrong. But my point of the matter is, this gym, right, I'm not going to say its name. I'm not going to say where it's at. It's not in Sydney. Was a really successful gym. Really, really successful gym. And it was successful as a business, I'm talking about. And he doesn't owe me an explanation, nor does he owe me anything, like, or anyone else for that matter. I turned up at his gym. He was good enough to let me on the mats, man. And so that's all that matters. Like, for me to go, well, no, I should be able to do this or that. Like, no, you turned up at someone's gym. They let you on the mats. Then fuck, good for you. Lucky for you, mate. And you have to be grateful for that. So I think, like, that's a big problem with people. They don't understand that. Like I say, sometimes I see people go, oh, why do you bow and get on the mats? It's not a thing. Why do you shake hands after thing? We don't do that. We just walk on and, you're good friend, whatever. And I think, well, fuck, why do you do anything for? Why do you do anything? My mum came over to my house today. She's staying for the weekend. I said hello to her, kissed her on the cheek, said, how you doing, mama? Why the fuck did I do that? Why didn't I just fucking walk past her? Who the fuck cares, mum? Who cares? Why would I fucking say hello to you? Why would I give you a kiss on the cheek? Why would I even give a shit what you're doing? Like, why? Because why? You're going to go to sleep today. Tomorrow's going to be a new day. What the fuck's the point? Like, there has to be some fucking order in what you're doing, I think, and common sense is not common. That's my opinion as well. So there has to be some sort of rules, you know what I mean? For example, my family, like they're Central Asian background, like not me, but my wife and her family and that. And there's no shoes in the house, and they can't fathom. There's no shoes in my house either, right? But my wife's family and my wife would not be able to fathom, right? They would not be able to fathom why you would choose to wear shoes in the house. They cannot fathom it, And so if you come to my house, you fucking take your shoes off. You know what I mean? It's really fucking easy. It's not whether why or whatever. No, it's just you got to understand that. John Wayne says, if Wonderboy beats Leon, how would him versus if Wonderboy beats Shavkat, John Wayne says, if Wonderboy beats Shavkat, how would he versus Leon go? I don't think Wonderboy. First of all, Shavkat will be an interesting fight because Shavkat's got a chin on him, and Shavkat can wrestle as well, and he's not dumb. I think he's going to try and take Wonderboy where it's going to be hardest for Wonderboy, that's going to be on the ground. But he will probably strike with him for a bit. I think Leon beats Wonderboy. I think Wonderboy is getting close to 40, if he's not already 40. I think Leon's bigger than Wonderboy too, and he's a very good grappler as well. Wonderboy's a good grappler himself, but I see Leon beating Wonderboy, and I see Shavkat beating Wonderboy as well. If he's smart, if he just sits and strikes with Wonderboy, he could be in trouble. Cooper Marion says, once I dated an Asian girl, it changed my whole perspective on choosing the house. White people are weird. It is a funny thing, though. It is. I will say this. I saw the other day on YouTube, there was a guy who was a doctor and he was talking about all the germs you carry on your shoes, the bottom of your shoes. And it is true. You know what I mean? It is true. And then if you've got little kids and they're it's not even the same as being barefoot outside, because your feet are different to and where you walk, even if you're barefoot, is different to you having shoes. Say I walk out into my yard barefoot and I walk and I run back into the house. It's not the same kind of filth than if I have my work boots on and I caught the subway and then walked from the subway home and fucking walked through a restaurant. There's bits of food and all sorts of shit all over my shoes. And then I walk through my house. It's not the same thing, you know what I mean? It's it is very, very, very dirty. Hey, I was also going to ask you this, as of today, it's on iTunes and everything, the podcast, etc. It's back on Podbean and all that stuff, whatever that means, I'm not sure. But I want to ask people if you could comment, if you like the shorts and that for the from the podcast, what you would like to see as shorts, or if you can recommend any parts of any of the podcasts. Unfortunately, I won't be able to do the watch along tomorrow. It's my daughter's birthday, so I won't be able to do it unless I file for divorce. But just let me know what you guys would like to see, and we'll be able to chop it up and start to put them up, the shorts and whatnot. But for now, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I'm going to do a watch along. Let me know as well if you guys are interested in doing a watching and participating in a watch along for Combat Sambo. So I want to do some Combat Sambo fights, some old ones. Get Fedor's fights, Khabib's fights, Islam's fights, Amasov's fights, a whole bunch. Aliskarov's fights, maybe Aliskarov versus Amasov. Yeah. Cooper Marion says, fun roasts and funny comments or insightful comments would be cool for shorts. Yeah, but I don't know which ones. You see, it's hard for me to say to myself, fuck, that was funny, Fab. You know what I mean? Sometimes I don't know if it's funny or not. The other day, somebody chopped up a thing where I picked a fight between what the results would be between Errol Hawani and MMA Guru. And I didn't think it was particularly funny, but it got a lot of views. So, yeah, let me know. See, Cooper Marion, I think sometimes we're doing a Pride watch along, old school Pride videos and watching them. So, let me know what you guys think, and we can do that. We can watch some Pride fights or some old school Combat Sambo fights, So, let me know, and we'll go from there. Guys, thank you so much. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you guys soon. Thank you so much. Take care.